and one could hardly find a better way of combining usefulness or pleasure than by acquiring and exercising skill with a needle, whether it be for the embellishment of the home, adornment of wearing apparel, or the preparation of little presents in which personal touches are highly prized. As an assertion of individuality in this mechanical era of mass production, the art of needlework is at the same time a most restful pastime for women, both young and old, whose nerves have become taut under stresses and strains of modern life. Confirmation of these facts is to be found in the continued success greeting the Encyclopedia of Needlework, published in the 1940s, I believe specifically 1945, and she is only just a little lady, only a handful. This is the side and then the bare back. And I will show you the dust cover because I think that's quite fun. And you can pause and read it for yourself. And then the back. Perfect. Onwards with the innards. Encyclopedia of Needlework by Therese de Delmotte. Pardon my French. Alright, you can read this for yourself. And then this too. This is one of those colored plates they were on about. Now we won't be going through the entire book. I want to stick to the chapter of crochet, which is give or take 50 pages. But I will be flipping through it as I discuss the importance of encyclopedias of needlework in the history of crochet. So crochet wasn't a craft done on its own. You would often embellish it with embroidery, you would sew a lining into it, you would have knitting with crochet edges, you would have tatted bags with crochet done on it. So I think for that reason it's quite nice to see all the various crafts which were paired with crochet. The mid-century sort of poses a halfway point in crochet history, I believe. In the Victorian era, crochet was very much experimental still. And then in the early 20th century, it really did take off. There was much more availability to it. You were getting crochet hooks made from gold and silver. That alone tells you that crochet was becoming important. Then at the end of the 20th century, again, crochet was fading in and out. It was sort of on life support, right? So I think the mid-century really provides a good halfway point for us here. And I think the terminology started changing the most from the Victorian era, which is great because it gives us explanation from the Victorian to the modern. It acts almost like a dictionary for us, because the Victorian pattern books often wrote as if you were expected to know all of the terms beforehand. But you didn't always, right? So having something which would explain it a bit more, like these 30s to 50s sort of encyclopedias, at least in my collection, really give you a point of reference. Then also something which I find, I'm getting excited now, really, really useful. For example, now we call it a flower stitch. In the 40s, it was the spider stitch. In the Victorian era, it was the torsion stitch. See, it's a little pattern where in the Victorian era, much like it was happening with knitting and needlework laces, crochet took the torsion pattern and recreated it in crochet, of course, instead of, was it bobbin lace they were doing it? Sorry, I'm not too caught up on that history yet. But it took that design, and of course it was called torsion. Like you have fillet lace, you would have torsion lace. We have fillet lace in here. Where was she? Here we are. So fillet lace you have an open mesh, and then you work upon it with a needle creating designs. Usually what we see is closed blocks, open mesh and closed blocks. But this was time consuming, of course, all needle laces were. So in crochet we could create an open mesh and close blocks at the same time, which made it much more cost effective because it was faster. You could determine the length a lot better, and you could of course undo mistakes a lot easier. So crochet was inspired by these and recreating them. Okay, back to it. So that's torch and lace, and it was defined by the history of it. During the mid-century, it started being called spider's lace on account of the sort of stitches, because in modern times we call it the flower stitch because the empty space, the negative space, creates sort of a flower. It looks like petals. But during the 40s, it looked more like a spider. We were taking what was there, not what wasn't there. So it's completely the same stitch, same technique, but just different names. Why is that important? I don't know, it's fun, it's part of history, it gives you a nice lovely timeline. And then as I just showed you, we have stuff like filet lace, and you can learn from that how crochet adapted to that technique. It just really gives you a viewpoint of so many things. And then another thing about these books, which is so lovely, here we have linen embroidery. What they often will tell you is how to look after your wools, your cottons, your linens. And that's of course very useful in crochet because you want long-lasting pieces. You want to know how to starch them. Well, these books often say it. I think that's it for now. Let's get to the crochet. Okie dokie. This is on page 305. And look at this lovely crochet lace with picot bars and small leaves. I love when crochet doesn't quite look crocheted. Okay, you can read this for yourself. Oh my gosh. Of course, another thing we're going to get to in a second is techniques in crochet which have sort of been left behind. I know people still do them, but they're not as popular. You have stuff like hairpin crochet. Then you have proper traditional Irish crochet. I know people have started back up with Irish crochet, but how it used to truly be, the proper intricacies of it. But yeah, just, when they added extra tools to their crochet, and when crochet was just a bit more eccentric, I suppose. Okay, onwards and upwards. Here we are. Tunisian crochet, they often focus quite a bit more in the history books, which I think is quite fun. There were more stitches, more uses. It was sort of a halfway between knitting and crochet. And then, of course, they always explain how the stitches look, how to do them. So if you're looking at the British definition compared to American one, that's also very fun. So in America, this is oh my god, I learned with American, but I forget them now. A single is a double, and then I think I don't know, who cares. Most European languages stick to the UK terms. But yeah, and then just lovely stitch designs, which you don't often see. Loop stitch, they often do in Victorian patterns. And there's, I think, maybe 2 or 3 ways of doing it. So having a point of reference and a little illustration, super duper useful. And double foundation chain. I have to learn this. And just always cross-referencing books. I think that's just something we can just really take advantage of. I really love looking at these. Can you tell I'm like, it's just so fascinating. Then of course filet crochet is very popular again, but you get various see, in Victorian times you had much more variation in filet crochet. You would have open mesh, but then you would have open mesh with a little chain, and then it was like a V, but that was open mesh, and you would do a little double crochet at the base. Oh my god, American is just single and double. We have double and treble. Okay, I remembered. But yeah, much more than just open and closed blocks, open mesh and closed blocks. You would have variation in sizes. You get me? Anyway, you kind of lose that in the 40s, and then you've got tapestry. And of course, I like talking about the Victorian era, but some of these things weren't even around back then, so it's really fun seeing how crochet progressed. And then sometimes they have really great advice. Isn't this nice? Decreasing, that's nice. There's 2 ways of decreasing, so it's nice seeing them properly explain one. And I think the style of writing for the 40s is really clear and precise. Oh, here we have hairpin. But it just really is written in a fashionable manner. I don't know, something about it. It's just perfect. Oh my god, I'm doing this on my doily. Oh, that's actually quite useful. Oh, that's nice. And then you have your braids, of course. Those were quite popular in the early 20th century. Braid work, you would have coronation braid or wave braid, medallion braid, and then also those braids had different names throughout the eras, but I think that's so cool seeing these. That's so cool, I can use that one. This one sort of looks like tatting, which I think is exciting. And then, oh, I forgot, the materials. The crochet hooks, for one, changed a lot during this time. And then the materials and the brands, of course, these are self-promoting, but the brands which they provide you, or which materials they want you to use more of, or just certain styles. This is gorgeous. Imitation of lace. Don't know how to pronounce that, but lots of imitations of other laces in crochet, which is fabulous seeing the history and how they progressed and what it really is. I think it's just exciting. Insertion in gross crochet. This type of crochet is, oh, I might have to read this. This type of crochet is of recent origin. It is more like the coarse kinds of lace trimming known as than ordinary laces, and is used principally for decorating household furnishings such as cushions, bedspreads, laces, valances, and etc. It resembles Irish crochet. It's gorgeous. I mean, that is just stunning. Irish crochet, of course. But this, oh, this is lovely. Sort of like filet lace. I was wondering, This is so, just so much damn information. I love it. Stunning. And you finally have a colored plate for crochet. I was wondering if we were gonna get one. I was feeling a bit left out. Crochet collar. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. stunning. I really like crochet that doesn't look like crochet, and that does not look like crochet. It's quality. I do think crochet got quite cheap towards the 70s. Sorry. In the 40s, it retained that kind of... Oop, I got too excited. That kind of Victorian... You get me? That kind of quality. Anyway, I think that's all. I think that was super exciting. I bloody love these books. I think they just have so much history beyond just the chapter of crochet. In themselves, they're incredible. If you can get one, get more than one.